Good morning, everybody. Hey, I'm so glad we made it to May 15th. I'm Debra Prinzing, and as you know, I'm the fairy godmother of Slow Flowers. I don't know why I said that. I'm the mama, and it's great to see you all, and it's great to have a fabulous lineup today of speakers who are going to share with you and answer your questions. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we start the Slow Flowers member virtual meetup, our 8th meetup. If you are new to this, I see a lot of familiar returning faces, so we may not have too many folks who haven't been on before, but the Zoom group chat on the right margin allows you to go in, just write a note, and you can select to everyone, send a message to everyone, and introduce yourselves and say hello. And if you haven't changed your name on the profile that is recognizable, feel free to do that, because Nisha will be collecting everyone's names for our giveaways, for our cool gifts today. Anything else you want to add, Nisha? Is that good enough? You message people if you can't tell who they are, right? Great. Before we get started, it is May 15th, and I have been saying for many weeks since March that May 15th will be the day that we make an announcement about the Slow Flowers Summit. As you may know, the Slow Flowers Summit, our 4th annual summit, was scheduled to, has been on the calendar for a year, to be June 28th through 30th this year at Filoli outside of San Francisco. We had a big meeting with the Filoli leadership, Karen and I, and we all concluded that there's so many reasons why we should not have our June conference, but we also felt that the October dates that we had announced as our backup were problematic, mainly because even if we can move the conference to October, the state of California may still have restrictions on group gatherings over 50 individuals. So then that means what, only 50 people can come, or only the local people can come and everybody else has to, attend virtually. It just didn't feel right. It really didn't feel right, because I feel like the number one reason people enjoy coming to the summit, and many of you who are on this call have attended already, is that it's the connections, it's the networking, it's the collegiality, it's the personal conversations. As Lisa likes to say, it's what happens in the hallway between the official presentations. You said that about Detroit Flower Week, Lisa, and I never forgot that. So we just bit the bullet and said we're going to move the whole summit to the same dates in 2021, June 28th and 29th. An email just went out to all registrants, and there's an announcement on the Slow Flowers Summit website, as well as a video message that I recorded on our blog. So I just wanted to bring it up and say it's been on my mind. It's been weighing heavily on me to create a safe conference, but also a meaningful conference. And the bottom line is the Slow Flowers community, while we're doing this virtually and it works, it's for 2 full days, it would not work. So we're gonna just see everybody in 2021, and reach out if you have any questions on that. Okay, enough of that. I want to introduce our first speaker. And speaking of the summit, our first speaker, Yanni Levin Bach, is with Flowers Without Borders, and he and I met last summer, and many of you might have met him when he attended the Slow Flowers Summit in the Twin Cities. And Yanni has been an almost perfect attendee of these Zoom calls. We were joking that he'd only missed one, and that was because of Mother's Day. So Yanni, you're distinct because we always see the beautiful lush background in your, I guess it's your patio, or is it your home? Where are you?
Oh, it's my living room. My wife is from Panama, and she wanted to recreate her childhood feeling of foliage everywhere inside the house, a tropical feeling.
Well, we all wish we could be there, but we're going to get a little virtual experience of that. Thanks so much for saying you'd be one of our guests, Yanni. Could you talk a little bit about what is Flowers Without Borders, and in terms of your business model? And you're in Los Angeles, right? So we should say that.
Yes, I'm in Los Angeles. I started working at the flower market in 1989. And just learned the ropes processing flowers. And after a while, I realized that I had done an apprenticeship and it really agreed with me. I really enjoyed the work. I enjoyed being around the flowers. I wasn't really that good at working with so many people, and I kind of recognized that I wanted to start a business that was a business that was kind of formulated around my personality. Um, at the time, 2006, when I opened my business, I actually pulled a napkin of a Southwest airline flight. And in those days, the napkins showed all the cities that Southwest flew to. And I noticed that working in shipping at the flower market, the relationships with customers that were receiving flowers on Southwest Air was a lot more prosperous than the relationships on FedEx that was very expensive, and on other airlines that had poorer service. And so I started in 2006 shipping flowers around the country. I was going to open up a traditional wholesaler, and I had a friend at the time, Gerald Perlman, who started the company Organic Bouquet. And I went to visit him, and his advice to me was, don't open a wholesaler, traditional wholesaler, brick and mortar. What you have is your experience, your knowledge, and a cell phone. So stay in your living room and see if you can do what you want to do. And if it works, then you can open up a traditional wholesaler. And I did that, and working from home really changed my life. Not driving to the market and to LAX daily, spending hours in traffic really changed things for me and exposed me to a really interesting group of people. I was a little bit lost in my own bubble, selling to my own customers and not really exploring the social media and the types of connections that that one can make through that type of networking. And interestingly enough, I found that working, going to the Slow Flower conference, speaking to people about social media, learning how to operate, it really exposed me to a wider community that it's been really interesting for me, and it's really expanded my my business and the scope of my business quite a bit.
So give us an example of like who would be your customer and how would you fulfill what they're looking for? Like you call yourself a flower hunter, which I love. Like what would be a typical business transaction?
I started selling to florists and event companies, and that evolved to I sold to one wholesaler, and I have started selling to farmers as well. And those are farmer florists that may have crops that are off season or may not have sufficient flowers themselves. My process is, I'd like to talk about, I had 6 years of retail. I had a flower shop in the 90s, and I really liked, I have that experience with brides and with studio work and photo shoots. And so I really like to talk to florists about what projects they're working on, if they have storyboards, what the themes and palettes are, and really get into the weeds, so to speak, about what it is, the feeling of the events that they're working on. And then I'll start in Southern California looking for product. I'll often have to go further north to find product that's out of season. And I'll keep going north to Oregon, Washington State, Wisconsin, wherever it takes me to find the product. And in that process, I'm talking to farmers, and that is really rewarding to me. Often farmers may not have what I'm looking for, but they're often willing to refer me to fellow farmers that may have the product. That's actually how I met Third Branch. I had a customer in Houston that was looking for lilac. It was out of season everywhere. I exhausted the whole country up to Alaska, and it was just done. And I didn't want to let go. And eventually I found Third Branch that is at a very high elevation in Vermont. And because of the elevation, the lilac actually bloomed after Alaska's. And so that gave me access to a brand new farm to take on board and build a new relationship. And within the process, it often happens that way, that I am looking for product, I get a referral to a farm, and that way I start taking on new farms.
And I would imagine that the person who says, I don't have the lilac, will follow that up by saying, but here's what I have coming on. And then you file that away in your Rolodex of your brain, because somebody inevitably is going to ask you about that crop, hydrangea or something, in 6 weeks, and you'll remember who to go back to.
Yes, very much so. And, I wanted to mention that when I got into this industry in the late 80s, there was not this sense of sharing. The industry felt very masculine to me, very macho, in many cases quite homophobic, which was ironic because of the client base.
Wow.
And there was a sense of exploiting the land. And this has changed a lot. I feel that I'm part of a community that has changed, and there's much more of a sense of land stewardship. There is an enormous, wonderful sense of, if I help you with sources, it's not going to hurt my business. That was not the case in the 80s or the 90s. Everyone held their cards very close to their chest. It felt like an old boy, almost like we inherited our industry from the Dutch, which was a very petroleum-based business. We came out of discovering natural gas in Holland and exploiting the land, and it was just profit based. And this has changed, and this is very much the community that I want to exist in. It's the community that I cherish. One of the principles I have in my business when I opened my business was I wanted to remove the banks out of the business. If somebody spent $100 on flowers, I wanted that entire $100 to go to floral purchases. And so I didn't take credit cards. People put a check in the mail. Florists paid me if they liked their flowers. The relationship I wanted to build was based on trust. I've never checked anybody's credit. I believe people should build credit with each other based on the way they treat each other. And I don't think that $3 out of every 100 should go to banking fees and credit card fees. On the other hand, I wanted to have a respect for farmers, and so my business was set up so that farmers would be paid as the product left the farm immediately. And if there was a problem with FedEx or freight or performance, then that would be dealt with after the fact. Once the flowers had arrived and the florist was either happy or not happy with the product. And I have been criticized by friends for doing this a lot, but it really has worked. And I found that when you trust people, they really treat you with a lot of dignity. And so I really haven't had any problems not checking people's credit and just using instincts.
So how do you get paid then? Are you taking a percentage of the transaction from the florist or the farmer? Or I'm just curious if that's too personal. I understand.
Not at all. No, I take the I take the order from the florist. I find out what is the main motivating fact, if they're looking for a mass market price, or if it's a very high end, they're looking for the very best quality. Find a farm that is as close to that florist as possible to lower the footprint and lower the freight cost. and then I purchase the flowers from the farm, pay the farm. I use the same markup formula on all the flowers that I purchase. And so I'm, in that sense, I'm like a traditional wholesaler
I
that is
see.
buying flowers, marking it up, and then selling. The thing is, I want to take responsibility. So FedEx has a policy of act of God. If there is bad weather and the flowers get there late, then they won't pay their insurance claims. So I take that responsibility from the farm. Once they ship the flowers, those flowers are mine. And if the florist gets the flowers late and they can't use them, then I have to go to FedEx
To negotiate.
And often they won't pay, and that is on me. That is, I have to eat that sale. I have to take responsibility for that. But I really want to, because I found when I got into this industry, there was a lot of tugging back and forth. Who owns this? It's not my fault. They were insured. And I don't think a florist can pay for flowers that get there a day after the wedding.
Elise is applauding. Right. I mean, it's an old school way of doing business, Yanni. I mean, old school in that it's like you're a gentleman and you keep your word, and that's rare.
Thank you. I find that a lot of my customers have come from the south of the country, and I think it's possibly because a lot of Southerners and the Midwest too are kind of used to a handshake deal. Mm-hmm. And I find a lot of florists in that part of the country incredibly evolved in terms of being very comfortable with a trusting relationship. Yeah. And a relationship that is based on one's word and not so much an extractive relationship.
Right.
Or a penalizing relationship.
More relational than transactional then.
Yes, and florists, the people I do business with me on both ends, I feel care about me and my business and my family and my life. So I feel this goes beyond just profit. And that's the world I want to live in. That's the business world I want to live in.
Yanni, I'm so blown away by this conversation. I want to see if you and I could get together and do a full podcast interview, because I think we need 30, 45, 60 minutes together. And I'm hoping you'll do that. And you won't even have to be on camera. I have one more question for you, but I want to just interrupt really quickly and encourage people who have questions for Yanni. Please put them in the group chat. Lisa's going to moderate that. And we have a mix of farmers, florists, and farmer florists on today. So I think that you might get questions from different perspectives. Could you talk about if someone is a new florist who wants to work with you, or a farmer who maybe realizes that they've got like overproduction in a certain variety coming along and they want to let you know about it? Like, how do you pick up new farmers and new florists, and how do you want people to get in touch with you to do business? I'm
kind of old fashioned. I do most of my business on the telephone. I do business on email and text and DMs and such. But I find that often there's way too many details in people describing their storyboards and what it is they're trying to create. And so maybe it's really difficult for me to communicate in that form, just plodding along one question on an email response back and forth. And so I find having conversations with people, both farmers and customers, really, it helps. People contact me by phone, email, or through my website. I am working with farms right now. I started looking at the Association of Specialty Cut Flower Growers when I opened in 2006, and there was a lot of fantastic farms that I was dealing with. And I have been working with some because I find that there are so many farms that I want to work with that don't ship. And I
Right.
think they don't ship for the right reason. And so I applaud that. I feel like they're supporting and serving mainly their own communities, which is healthy. But when farmers do have excess and they do want to ship, shipping is often very daunting. It's something I've done for a long time, and it's really not as complicated as it seems. And so I have walked a lot of farmers through the process of how they can acquire boxes and how they can try and ship their flowers. And so if farms are shipping already, then I'm willing to take them on as new suppliers, and if not, I'm willing to cooperate with them and kind of tell them that I have a lot to learn, but I've been doing this for a while, so I can share what I have learned along the way in terms of packing and shipping. And more often than not, they're not shipping to me; they're shipping directly to the end user.
I forgot to put up your website, so I'm going to do that right now so people can see it. And then, does anyone have any questions for Yanni? I know we're gonna move on to our next speaker quickly, so I want to make sure that we give people a chance to ask their questions if they have them. And I'm going to see if I can do it.
Karen just posted his contact info.
Okay, great. That's super. And here is Flowers Without Borders. Can you all see that? Yanni was kind of a non-digital guy up until what? Just last year, right? This is a pretty new website.
Yeah, up until we met actually at the Slow Flower Conference last year.
Well, I don't know if there's a coincidence or not, but I really like the fact that you've got such a beautiful site that is going to lure people in. I love this section here about flower hunting.
The period that we're going through with COVID actually gave me an opportunity to take courses online and do a little bit of catch up and take courses in internet, Instagramming, in business, and so those 3.5 weeks where I had no business was really pivotal for me, both for my sanity and keeping myself busy, but it also, one thing that's interesting, since those 3.5 weeks ended, 95% of my business are from people that are from Instagram, that are brand new florists, brand new customers. Only 5% of what I've done through Mother's Day and through April, May, has been from existing customers that I've built relationships with since 2006, because a lot of those florists just couldn't reopen, and when they did, there was not business for them.
Wow. So had you not beefed up your own social media presence, you would have very little going on right now.
Yes, yeah. I mean, part of the resistance was I've never had social media in my personal life, and so it was a language that I really needed to learn. It was a language I needed to find, and I really needed to get out of the bubble of my clientele and my flower world, and really discover that there is an amazing flower world that exists. And part of the access to that is through social media. So it's been a learning experience, and it's been really good for me, frankly. Just in keeping myself busy during this time. I really feel like it's given me an opportunity to think about what I'm doing and how I am part of the problem. And it's given me time to think about the overconsumption that exists. And I feel like that Mother Nature has given us a very clear message before COVID that we ignored, that we really need to slow down our consumption. And so this is the message that I'm hearing. And so I'm trying to adjust my business and see in what areas I can change what I'm doing, so that I'm less of a problem to the planet, really.
I have to show this photo of Yanni on the screen before I stop the screen share, but look how joyous you look in this flowers on your head photo that Mud Baron took of you at the Slow Flowers Summit. I think that was at the summit last summer, right?
Yes, that was in the patio.
Oh, that's great. A lot of us have had that experience. It's a beautiful photo, Yanni. And your comments are beautiful. I really appreciate what you're doing. And we're going to pivot to Bethany. And so I think, Yanni, it's only right that you describe how you started doing business with Charles Little and Company. And then we'll introduce one half of Charles Little and Company, Bethany Little.
I have a customer in Schulenburg, Texas, that runs a landscaping company. She runs 3 restaurants and a lifestyle company, and she also does 2 furniture shows a year. And that's partly where I fit in, because she doesn't have time to buy flowers.
Mm-hmm.
The furniture show supplies a lot of dried flowers, and so twice a year we have done business with Charles Little, I mean, at least twice a year, to supply these flowers for the furniture show. And they're really, really happy with the product each year. And they often tell me to make sure that the flowers are coming from the same farm, so that they know where they're coming from. They know that they've been happy with them in the past. And it's been a pleasure building a relationship with Bethany and Charles Little, and
Awesome.
I appreciate her. It was wonderful to meet her last year.
Well, thank you, Yanni, so much. We're going to pivot to Bethany, and we'll still, Lisa, if there's questions, we'll let you moderate that maybe at the end. I'm going to unmute Bethany and ask her to join us. I can't unmute her somehow. Karen, can you do that? Oh,
I'm now unmuted.
And look at you with that pretty arrangement behind you. Tell us about those.
The peonies started blooming.
Oh my goodness. Just in time for today.
Yep. I just, I walked out in the field last week and there was 9 stems blooming.
What are your varieties? There's mostly...
I don't know what this guy is. This is, I think it's like strawberry sundae or raspberry sundae or something, but we call it the Ginny King Peony because the original plant was given to us by our elderly friend and we don't know what it is. So we call it the Ginny King Peony. And it smells divine.
That's great.
And I love, it's like this, it has this blushy pink outside and this fully white double inside.
That's wonderful.
Really beautiful.
Well, that's
pops open really fast, but it stays intact for a really long time.
Wow.
Where other ones, like take forever to open. This is like boom, and then it just stays there.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So, Bethany, thank you so much for saying that you'll join us. And
thank you.
Yeah, you and I are old friends. I mean, longtime friends. You're way younger than me. And I think we met in 2010 at an ASCFG meetup at regional meeting at Charles Little and Company. Yeah. So it's hard to believe we've known each other for 10 years. I appreciate you so much for so many reasons. And I know that a lot of people are aware of your company, but maybe you can give everyone a snapshot of Charles Little and Company and what your main customer channels are. And then we can talk kind of about what you've been doing since the pandemic and what changes you've had to make.
So it's, like Charles Little and Company started a long time ago with Charles, and it's evolved over all the years. And I swear we've done almost everything you can do to make a living as a flower farmer, just so we could stay flower farmers. Concentrated really, really hard on the last few years that we've been selling to wholesalers nationwide, taking care of our retail customers through our stall at the Oregon Flower Growers Association, selling some flowers to the Seattle Growers Market, and then, we've always had this little farm stand that was sort of like, we never really paid a lot of attention to it.
Oh, and tell people where you're located, where that farm stand is.
We're in Eugene, Oregon, and we are like 10 minutes from downtown. And we are at the base of the largest county park in the United States. So it is a very large park where people come to do outdoor recreation that is non-motorized. So you walking or horseback. And it's big and beautiful and quiet. And there's an arboretum there as well. So that is, kind of more tended. And there's lots of volunteer groups that take care of the walking paths. So it's very popular. Eugene has grown exponentially over the last 10 years. And so the traffic starts about 3 o'clock in the morning because people want to hike that hill before they go to work. It's pretty, I think they're a little bit more dedicated to exercising than I am.
So they're basically driving past Charles Little and Company, these fields of beautiful flowers on their way to outdoor recreation. Some of them who never stop, but
never.
Yeah, what's wrong with them?
So people are stopping now because they don't have to get back to work. But even before that, we were thinking we're going to ramp up our farm stand this year and try to get more of our local sales, become more of our community. We want to do things like, we did want to do things like teach workshops in like the wineries, and we have a really great sort of brew pub winery center sort of off of downtown where there's a lot of places where you could have things like that, but not anymore. So sort of trying to come up with ideas for online sales, doing things. I bit the bullet and joined Cow Flowers to get a better ship rate. I'm learning about ShipStation and how that works on my new farm stand manager, Lindsay, is building a new website for us that will go live in probably about a week. And so ShipStation will be on the back end of that website, which I can say those words, but I really don't know what it means.
So basically that will be your fulfillment platform?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I now have a better rate. I've had a better rate with UPS for a long time because we've shipped dried flowers nationwide for a while. But shipping fresh flowers on FedEx, we just always used our customers' addresses or accounts.
Yeah.
And they Yanni has a Cow Flower account, so it's cheaper. But now we have our own, so we're going to be able to fulfill an order for a wreath, and it will pop up and it will go 3-day, and it will be about the same as ground, and so it's pretty great.
Is this showing up your website now on the screen?
It is.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there anything specific you want me to click on?
Let's
do the farm stand.
This is all going to change.
There's Charles.
There's Charles
holding one entire crop.
Well, yeah, that's when we load our truck down that goes to LA. We sell flowers to Oregon Coastal Flowers, who has a stall at the LA Flower Market, and we meet a big semi truck, and it's like the lighting is just perfect in there. So we often will hold up a whole bucket
in the truck.
That's the back of the truck.
So moody. Charles is lit from the side so perfectly.
I know. I don't know. It just always was so good. So we'd always take photos when we're loading the truck. We're like,
okay.
Hold on, you look great with that.
So you mentioned here on your website. So I know it's going to change. So maybe this is a moot point.
It's going to change a lot, but people will be able to order dried flower bunches off the website, and they'll be able to order
there's your availability
off the website and completed wreaths, and then for local sales, people will be able to order. And we started this actually for Mother's Day, and we had about 30 deliveries and pickups for Mother's Day, which is a lot for us considering we've never done it before. So we started fulfilling local bouquet orders, and I did the deliveries. I got a routing app on my phone, but still learned I'm not the best at logistics like that. And then I have since found a couple of different delivery groups that in town that I can work with, sort of keep to my skill set the best.
Yeah.
Which is, growing lots of flowers and selling lots of flowers. But I want to be more accessible. And I want to work more with our town. I want to, now with this COVID, we're ramping up our farm stand, and we're going to be, asking nonprofits if they would like to come out and set up a stand and invite their friends out, like dog groups, different dog groups, or invite painting groups, different plein air painting groups or watercolor groups to come out, or bird watching groups. We're just really,
that's exciting.
We've always been kind of, give lots of farm tours to kids and schools, but we want to just bring more people out here. So
I wanted to click over to your Instagram because you've been really active running the social media for the company up until now, right?
I've been, my 365-day project ended, and you can scroll down a little bit more and you can see the last day.
Is this it right here?
That's it. And I have that hanging in my office because I thought I should keep that.
Yes, it was a long haul. I was with you when you were trying to late night make a wreath when I was visiting you in February or January, was that?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I really did make one every day. Sometimes I fudged it where I made 2 the day before if I knew I had to drive to Portland, or if I felt sick a couple times, I then made up my wreaths. But I did make 365 of them, and it was.
I loved it. I have one hanging in my office that you gave me.
It was challenging, but it was a lot of fun. And it was nice because it made me kind of take a moment and slow down.
And also, the timing couldn't have been more perfect with sort of the renaissance of dried product.
Yeah, it just happened to be. So it was good. And I really love dried flowers, obviously. I've been drying flowers since I was a child in my bedroom and making things out of them. And I wanted to show people how to, go back to that one. Is that? Oh.
With the shell?
I have that one for our giveaway.
Oh, wow. Okay. So someone's going to get this great, beautiful, is it sage and what else is in there?
Sage and oreganos and different kinds of ornamental grasses and some yarrow. And a seashell that was found here on the Oregon coast.
Oh, wow. What a beautiful giveaway. Thank you so much.
I pop in anything that I find. I pick up things all the time. So yeah, it's beautiful. Okay, very fun. Well, that's going to be one of our surprise giveaways today. So Bethany, one of the inevitable questions that you and I have talked about and it comes up is, I'm going to stop sharing right now. Large growers like Charles Little and Company, really your number one outlet was selling direct to large wholesalers around the country. But you were fielding questions all the time about people, from people who wanted to buy direct. How do you handle that? And what's your recommendation right now? Because some wholesalers aren't buying from you. Right. I'm really lucky that my local wholesaler, Superior Greens, the one that's in Eugene, Springfield, has picked up their buying from us. And they used to buy a lot, stopped. Now they're buying a ton. They in the last 5 days, they have had 4 orders, and they're not all small.
Wow. And their customer is?
Their customers are retailers.
Okay. Wow.
And they drive all over Oregon, or Southern Oregon, is what they're sort of Eugene, Salem, Southern Oregon.
Yeah, but you're in their backyard. Why haven't they been buying more, right?
Well, it was what their customers wanted. You can't argue with that. They had a little bit more conservative customer base, but now they can't get flowers, and they're, being kind of force-fed local flowers, and it's, in a beautiful thing, I think.
Wow.
But hopefully they're happy with them.
Hopefully this will just change their behavior. That's amazing.
We're really lucky that Oregon Coastal Flowers just placed a small, for them, small order. They're starting again, and Mayash Wholesale has been purchasing, a small amount for them from us, but these wholesalers are starting to do stuff, and so that's exciting for me. We have been selling a lot more to New Seasons Grocery. We used to do 1,000 bouquets for them a week, and then I was like, we have to stop bouquets. I just want to sell you straight bunches. And this year we've made them a few bouquets, but we don't have any focals until I think maybe next week, unless our entire peony crop is sold. I'm hoping I don't have enough things to make bouquets and just sell people straight bunches.
Is it because of the labor costs?
It is, it's basically just, it is labor, and I can't really afford it. We're on a skeleton crew. I haven't hired anybody new. We usually bring in even some temporary help with a labor ag group. And we haven't done any of that. So
are you saying, would you say you're kind of like 60% of where you were this time last year, or is it just you're selling as much product but to way different customer base?
I think that we're probably about 50 or 60% of where we were, and it's really scary.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm doing things like learning about ShipStation. Just trying to figure out like how can I sell more direct to people. So yeah, I will sell direct to retail florists, fresh flowers, but we haven't started that program yet because I have to learn and wrap my head around everything. I'm used to drop shipping and like selling flowers with Yanni with FedEx, and FedEx comes here a lot, almost every single day during the summer for one wholesaler or another that they need me to drop ship it or they need me to ship it directly to them. But this would be new, and like I've said so many times, it's like, that's why I love wholesalers, because they have all these growers, and I don't want to talk about the color blush, like, was it the right white or cream? That's just sort of,
you're like wham, bam, let's get this thing sold.
It's hard for me to want to talk about those nuances. And, that's why I like growing the way we grow. And it's why I'm personally, gave up being a florist as soon as I could, and stopped doing farmers markets as soon as I could, because it's not my personality. And I think that's okay.
And your strength.
Yeah. And I hired someone who that is their personality. And so that's how we're picking that piece of the industry up again as Charles Little and Company, because we used to do weddings, we used to do big events, we used to do farmers markets in 2 cities. We're not going to do that, hopefully, again. But yeah, the farm stand and the internet sales, I think, are going to be kind of meshed together. And
and I think the people on this call who are florists will be able to now buy bulk dried flowers from you, which is, I think, a year-round.
It's year-round. As long as I have it, it's for sale. And people can call me anytime. I will send them my price list. Our price list is on the website. It has to be updated. I've sold out of a couple things.
Sure.
And we just started hanging flowers. In fact, I'll probably put that in my stories today. Is we hung 3 different things, up on the 3rd floor. So it's, the season started. We're farming. Big, huge orders are getting canceled, and we're just sort of like holding our breath and saying like, well, then maybe we don't plant 2 acres of straw flowers, you know? And it's awful and it's scary, but we have, you know, I feel like we have a good community behind us.
Hey, Bethany, we have a few questions, and you do have a good community behind you because we all want to, we don't want Charles Little and Company to stop growing beautiful goodies. I'm going to let Lisa Wad jump in and ask a couple questions, and mainly in the group Zoom chat, there's just a lot of compliments about how beautiful your wreaths are, and everybody, I know you don't want to keep that project going, but you'll do a few wreaths during the coming season, right?
I will always make wreaths. Like I said, I started gathering things and drying them when I was a child. You know, like I made my mom give me a 3x5 spot in the garden when I was 8 years old. I'm like, and I grew flowers, you know,
awesome.
And so it is something that I'm driven to make and create and pick up and put together and collage, and and teach other people that. And that's part of the thing I'm going to really miss this year is teaching my workshops. I really like those.
Okay, well, Lisa, you want to jump in with a few questions?
Hi, Bethany. It's really nice to see you.
Hi, you too.
So Laura Cohen has asked if you know of a compostable glue, or maybe someone on the call does, and we can do a group think about this.
Yeah, something that I don't know anything about. I wish there was something, you know, there's like some kind of gum, like natural gum something, but there's nothing that I know of. It is something that I think about when I'm like, wow, that's the most expensive box of plastic I've ever purchased in my life.
Wow. What about like, is Elmer's water-based, or is that just not durable enough for the weight of a dried flower?
You know, I've used it with my nieces, and they eventually pop off because of the humidity. I did see on Instagram someone put something in their wreath using something. I didn't screen save it, so I don't remember.
I'm sorry, it's on the list of everything else we want to replace single-use plastic for.
Yeah.
I guess the good news is the wreaths do have a long shelf life once you make them, right? Yes,
they will last. I mean, I go over to friends' houses and remove them because I'm like, I gave that to you 5 years ago. It's dusty. It's gross. It's, you know, like, I will give you a new one. Stop.
Excuse me. That's funny. Well, you know, everything old is new again. We're reinventing the 80s and putting the Bethany little twists on them with birds' nests and shells and, you know, really cool foraged elements. And you make your own bases as well, right?
Yeah, we make our bases out of anything I can get my hands on. This is a porcelain vine that we grow out in the field for the berries and the leaves in the summertime. And then, you know, we have grapevines. The squirrels always get all the grapes. So we just have them for screening the public, because we live right across from the river, which is basically just a beach during the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have grapevine. And then this year when we took down the hops, we just made those into wreaths. When I go for walks and there's whippy things, I make them into wreaths. There's so many things that you can make into wreaths, you know, that are everywhere, like when the alder branches fall and things like that, you know, those big, long, whippy, anything pliable gets bent into a wreath frame around here.
Got it. Okay, Bethany, thank you so much. What we'd like to do is at least have a 5 to 10 minute breakout rooms. And then we'll come back and just talk a little bit about who won the giveaways from last week. I hope that's good. We might go a few minutes over, but since we're post Mother's Day, maybe we can all afford to stay till about 5 or 10 minutes after the hour. I just like everyone to get a chance to meet each other. If you're in a I heard some people last week saying every single time I'm with the same people. So if you're in a breakout room with people you've already met and you want to jump to another room, nobody has to feel bad about that. Just exit and Karen will reassign you. And we'll go for about 10 minutes just visiting with each other, and then we'll come back and just talk about just a few announcements. What I would like to propose, just because we're starting to get into a little bit more active, busy season, and Fridays aren't good for everybody, I'd like to propose that we finish off May, and then starting in June, start with a monthly Zoom call, and maybe go for 90 minutes and allow time for people to have a good breakout rooms for the last 30, but then still, have a guest speaker or two at the beginning. So I'll send that information out. I'm thinking we're going to I'm looking at my calendar, maybe shoot for the second Friday of every month, and continue this as a Slow Flowers tradition, pandemic or not. So I'd love to hear from you if you have some thoughts on that. And I'm hearing great idea from a few people, so that's good. So with that said, I'm going to announce the winners from last week's giveaways. Krista Hiringa from Far North Flowers. I don't know if some of you remember her talking about her lemon chiffon peonies up in Alaska. She won the Slow Flowers Society t-shirt. Nicole Sipple of Airy Point Farms. I think that was the first time she attended. She received the Slow Flowers book. Heidi Anderson from Brick Road Lavender received the utility apron that I had left over from an event I did with Raw Materials, which is a USA-made apron company here in Seattle. And Laura Cohen from the Posy Express will receive the Alaska Perfect Peonies bridal box when the peonies are ready. And that reminds me, Laura, I will connect you with Rita Joe so you guys can make arrangements for that. I forgot that I didn't do that. So this week we've got number one, we've got the beautiful Bethany Little custom made wreath. And then we also have a Slow Flowers Society t-shirt. I'm down to smalls and mediums. So some people, I can't fit into a medium. So I guess that's what I would give it to somebody smaller than me. And then the Slow Flowers book, which I have. And I'm hoping that next week I can give away some advanced copies of the brand new, just going to the printer today, Slow Flowers Journal Volume 1 book, which is very exciting. Thank you. And many of the Slow Flowers, it only features Slow Flowers members in their work. And I will, and I see that, did we lose Beth Cyphers? Bethany and Beth Cyphers collaborated on a beautiful botanical couture look that's featured in the book. So I'll show you the cover next week and a few of the inside pages, and we'll give away a few copies, but you'll have to wait till they come back from the printer. But it is being printed domestically, so awesome news for me. Okay, so we will do the drawings this week. We're going to meet next Friday. I don't have a new speakers lined up yet, but I will. And next Friday is the Friday of Memorial Day weekend, so maybe we'll have a party. I don't know. Bethany, did you want to hold up the wreath again? We'll take you off mute.
Yes.
So, we get a good sense of the size. Wonderful.
Yep.
What would you sell that for, Bethany?
It was put on, I think I took a $45 price tag off of it. That's what Lindsay has it at the farm stand for. I have a hard time putting price tags on things, and that's why I hired Lindsay because I'm used to selling to wholesalers, and it's hard to do retail pricing and to think it, and also to hold my ground when people kind of push at me a little bit. And so it's really nice to, I just cannot believe that I got to find someone like her.
That's great. Thank you so much. I did see a question before we wrap up from Susan Schultz about the Slow Flowers Summit. I did announce at the top of this meeting that we're going to reschedule for 2021. And you said, will we be holding our payment until the next summit in 2021? Our plan is to transfer all registrations to 2021. and just transfer your registration. If there's a circumstance that you want to talk to us about, you can reach out, and Karen, because we're going to kind of have to handle that on a case-by-case basis. We've already incurred a lot of costs with that event that, you know, we just want to manage the budget carefully. So hopefully that's good. But yeah, Karen's sending a note saying all current tickets were already transferred to 2021. Okay, everybody, thank you all so much. Lisa, did you have anything else to add? Nope, she's good. All right, I wish you all a wonderful weekend. I will see you next Friday. I think we're going to have a party. Maybe we'll have a mimosa party. It is the Friday of a 3-day weekend, right? Or what are we? What are weekends, right? All right, thank you all so much. I love you all, and this has been a really great morning. Thank you, Yanni, and thank you, Bethany.
Yes, thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.